So peace was good, was good, everybody. All right, that's good right there. Let me know if you can hear me. So let me know that everything is good, and we'll get into this reading this elements of attraction. All right. So in the meanwhile, so we have somebody who will be doing an anonymous reading for us. So some of you know I'm Satori Seals. I guess you can sum up all that I really do, but one thing I do is I'm a living soul, uh, soul guider, numerologically um, basically specialist, however you want to consider it. I'm a metaphysician, and basically say some of I'm a spiritual advisor. So one of the things I do is I analyze relationship patterns, and I use a system through the Living Soul numerology system. Okay, perfect. So I could be heard. Cool. I appreciate that. So let me know what city y'all from. Give a shout out to everybody that's hopping on and will be hopping on. Feel free to go ahead and share this, this episode. And so we're going to do. We got this sister that I'm going to do her reading. So let me explain what the elements of attraction reading is about. Peace, San Diego. Okay, so the elements of us inside the living soul neurology system, we have five elements. As the earth, wood, water, metal, air, and fire. And there's other things we look at that we view when we do character mapping, forecasting, and so forth. But the elements gives a strong, quick snapshot because it highlights how we're thinking, feeling, responding, reacting in real life scenarios, and it's all based upon your soul profile. So some of you that have your soul profile, you kind of follow, kind of understand what I'm talking about. Some of you don't, but you get a score. Okay. And so what we're doing with the elements of attraction is basically introducing people into a good way to self-assess, to assess their relationships, and to assess kind of what they need, help them recognize their blind spots, but just gives you a very good overall insight into relationships that can serve you as a great tool. So what I'm doing is I wrote a book, just released a couple of days ago. Appreciate everybody's been grabbing it, so I encourage you to get it. There's a link in the description, or you can go to my YouTube link, go there and click elements of attraction. Thanks in advance for that. So that actually helps fuel what we're doing. But so anyway, so I'm going to do is these readings, I'm actually taking these readings from what it conveys inside the book. So when you get the book, you can see like, oh, that's how he was reading different stuff. It's all inside the book. Now, because I'm versed in this, I might uh, go a little more advanced and step outside what's inside the book, but primarily everything is coming is from the book, and this is a part of relationship numerology. We call it soul energy, but relationship numerology is quickly for people to grasp and understand. So what we're going to do is just tap into this individual. This is a woman, and so we're going to focus in on her number specifically. All right. And so her soul code. All right. So we got four numbers. Her soul code is 2114. Okay. And so the first thing, um, so the first thing that we understand about these soul codes, first of all, we talk about something called the relationship energy hierarchy. So what energy structure or hierarchy that is comparable for her, okay, or the energy hierarchy that she actually comes from, you know, in bringing to a relationship. Well, she is primarily more feminine. Okay, so she comes more from a feminine hierarchy. If you remember the other episode, the other person came from a masculine hierarchy. So this is different. Excuse me. So they're coming from a feminine hierarchy. So what does that really mean? Um, this means that they're more adept. Their tendency in terms of the structure is to make sure there's an emotional alignment, and they're very big about relational tone setting. So, in other words, one of the things about feminine energy, and one of the things I bring out in our in our private groups, is that feminine energy oversees the morale, relationship tone setting. So she's very keen on the flow. She wants to support the flow and make sure the tone is continual, right? You need that in a relationship because that equates to enduring relationships. You need someone, hopefully everyone involved in a relationship, that holds the social and the emotional in the cosmic intelligence to read the room, know how to uh, oversee the relationship tone. And then when it gets out of whack, everybody has the ability to alchemize and reroute everything back to a sense of balance. That's one of the beautiful things about this individual or individuals that comes from more from a feminine hierarchy um, relationship type of structure. Okay, let me know this is making sense. And so in that, you'll hear me talk a lot about the energy. So we know there's three energy: masculine, androgynous, and feminine, but they take position. And so this shows you the position that they operate, or in terms of what they prefer to be expressed when they are inside a certain structure. And so she favors more of the submissive. Okay. So she favors more of the submissive part. And so she's into the receiving, responding, and upholding and supporting, you know, as we're going along in the, as the relationship is going in a certain direction, it supports that. Okay. So just to let some of y'all know, when y'all see people that say irrelevant stuff, just click on there and just delete them out so we can keep everything real cool. All right. So that's roll. All right. So they support emotional flow and everything like that. So that's the relationship energy hierarchy. Now, where I'm coming from is the book Elements of Attraction. Okay, so check this out. So there we're going to do is look at her element scores. Her three dominant elements that she comes from are the water, earth, wood, and fire. Okay, and then her weaker or lower scoring elements are the air and the metal. And so we'll kind of break that down what that translate as. Okay, so then let me highlight this. Their masculine energy and androgynous energy scores a 0. Okay. And so what that helps us understand is going to show you some things that might affect what she attracts into her life or what um, might be challenges for her inside a relationship. Okay. So we're kind of going to set the tone for that. All right. So, but when we talk about when we talk about the air score being low, what does that translate? That how's that how we interpret that? So, because this individual they have a strong water, so water is representing the emotions. For example, every relationship has an emotional association with it, right? Every relationship has association with passion, desire, and drive. Relationships has a component dealing with think, troubleshooting, ideas, and communication. Relationships all deal with boundaries, decision, truth, and execution. All relationships deal with having grounding, stability, and so forth. So this is why the five elements are relative to relationships because there's no relationship exempt from it. But we score in and out of these different things in combination. Also, you mix it with our energy position, and it gives us a picture about the soul of the individual, how they relate, and what they invite, or what they project, or what they actually resist. Okay. And so when we see a low score like in metal in the air, and then we hear, I mentioned about being a 0 score in the masculine energy and the androgynous energy, it just signals where um, there's opportunities that might be that the person deal with. So when we look at the low air score, one of the things that this individual that she probably is quickly will default to um, is holding firmly to conclusions once she is emotionally invested. Okay. And so, in other words, a lot of stuff she's going to interpret through an emotional lens. But if she's invested in terms of what she feels about the situation, she gets closed off, right? She can't see outside of it, or she's prone, let me say that, she's more prone to not see, to see outside of it. Okay. And so when that happens, um, it's hard for her to be persuaded outwardly. Well, how do we know that? Because she has a zero androgynous score, and she actually has a low score in being neutral. So uh, the good thing is the high water is flexible, but when we talk about the androgynous score and the neutral score, it shows there could be a tendency once she gets emotionally locked inside something, everything's going to be interpreted from the space of feeling. So that means that she might disregard intuitive insight. She might disregard logical insight. She's going to make the feelings come to the forefront and then give them more validation in a situation that necessarily really needs to be. So that's something that she probably has to regulate often or manage and take time out to make sure that she's not overly emotionalizing things, because that's very prone to be able to happen because of the low air and also the low metal. Okay. And so that also can lead to a lot of assumptions and a lot of suspicion because she does have high water. So she has the ability to, to regulate that. But her water score is also in overdrive. And so when we recognize things that are in overdrive, that means it can go into the opposite tendency that's not favorable or more dip into more of the shadow expressions of the water. So some of you that have the book in Elements of Attraction, go and look at the water section, and you kind of can see some things I'm talking about right there, that highlights that. So it talks about all the water stuff, then it kind of point to you about the, some of the shadows and stuff. And I might say things that's outside of that, but it's still relative to that, but because I'm just kind of flowing and tapping into what it is. Um, so it just also makes this person very, very empathic. When you got a strong, so here's something that's a very good question. So check this out. So what we also see when you see the strong water and you have a strong earth wood and a strong fire, you know what I'm saying? This person has what we call high meta senses. So they're definitely going to be very empathic. Matter of fact, they come from that space. The challenge is though, is that are you dealing with a hunch? Are you discerning? Are you going feeling? Because if not, it can get all mixed in because you understand is the metal is lower. And so because the metal is lower and then the air is low, because air is very psychic and intuitive, because those are low, it can, the natural empathic piece that falls in line with the water and the earthwood. She has strong water earthwood. So that whole empathic is a base of her, but she has to self check it and self police it because of the low metal. The metal. So what does the metal do? The metal helps you filter your your empathic feelings that you're having with the truth. So you or whoever embodies this type of score, um, she has to be very mindful to not misinterpret things. Like I said, because she holds on to conclusions once she is emotionally invested, and so can just disregard reality as well too, because you can get caught up in assumptions. So this is where the value of being empathic can also start to work against you if not properly self-regulated or not properly cultivated or self-aware. Okay. So, but yes, this person is very empathic, you know, and that's one of the things that is a part of her attraction that people attract to. They attract to that. She has a sense of understanding. She's not a judgmental person. So someone can really feel and they can feel like they can share a lot of vulnerability with her. They can share personal truths and not feel ostracized, by it. And in the same time is she's able to give the affirmation and the soothing in someone's reality that they're facing. And the empathy allows her to be able to do that. Okay. Um, so, and then also when we talk about empathy, she has a strong, I didn't mention this, she has a strong feminine score, and that's an overdrive. Um, okay. And so that overdrive um, connects to empathy as well too, because the feminine energy is over the empathy. So this individual is just a natural part of their makeup, and they bring it to a relationship. It's empathy. We need empathy. Imagine a relationship absent of empathy. It's going to be cold, rigid, um, domineering, and then for a lot of people that becomes what, very repulsive. Now the interesting thing in this makeup, she probably attracts that shadow, nothing to do with you personally, but because you have a strong, nurturing, empathetic, and a high drive and high passion dimension about you. But people uh, that lacks that are going to draw to you because you have something to offer them. And I was mentioning in the last um, episode that we did. Okay, so like I said, so with the low metal score and the low air score, which metal's dealing with boundaries, decisions, and execution, and stuff like that, and air's communication, troubleshooting, all that. Those scores are lower, but she's stronger in the water, earth, wood, and fire. So primarily, when she enters a relationship, the intelligence that she's bringing, she's coming from empathy. She's coming from emotional intelligence. She's coming from emotional resilience. She's coming from a space of you know motivation, inspiration. Matter of fact, she draws to that. She loves that. That's what gets her going. And also, um, strong stability. She has a knack to make things to be supportive. So when we associate and we look at these elements, something we call soul archetypes. And so soul archetypes all hold a sequence of soul elements with three elements in there. When I look at the sequence, it matches to the soul we call the soul nurturer. So it goes that word again, nurturing. So she's a very nurturing individual. So when she comes to a relationship, she naturally just wants to nurture. And the soul nurturer is recognized as the feminine, submissive energy. So it all just is all confirming with each other. And so one of the things the soul nurturer can do, this is the individual that they're there from the beginning and they are there at the end. That's very attractive to men because a lot of times silently from the emotional space of most men just want to know, are you going to be there when times get hard? Are you going to be there through the process to get from point A, you know, to B? Or are you going to in between that space, or are you going to leave? With this individual, a man doesn't have to question that. How do we know? Strong fire, strong earth, wood, and a strong water. Water is stronger bonding, and the water and the earth wood is the ones that really are anchoring in the relationship. So this individual probably has long term connections. It's not hard. As a matter of fact, it just automatically kind of plays out. They'll look up and be like, "Oh, we've been connected for years." That's just natural because of what that is. And then she has that strong fire, so you already get the nurturing, the soothing, but you also get this inspiring and this enliveningness that's always there. That's high magnetism. So this individual probably just attracts a lot of interest, a lot of love interest, and not just from the physical desire, but from the essence of what she brings. She really has. Look at these numbers. Her soul should be kind of very magnetic. If it's not, then it's probably some shadows and stuff that she probably has to work through. But it shouldn't be hard to work through that. Um, it just depends. But I mean, in her case, I mean, there's some emotionally, she can get emotionally stovepiped. Okay. And so I have to go here. So if she's finding relationships or has found relationships in the past seem like they just kind of just dissolve and didn't make sense, there's a lot that goes on between her psychic energy that comes in as the four, and also with her ego, and then also with the earth. So in other words, how she relates, how she connects. She connects through emotion, and her ego likes to express itself through emotion. But her psychic likes to come from the sexual energy space. And when I say sexual energy, I'm not talking about just actual sex. We're talking about creativity, being conventional. That's a neutral energy. Okay. And so that can kind of conflict. Okay. So also inside this, we come from different parts of ourselves. So there's 9 different parts of the self. And for her, the one referred to the emotion, the four refers to the sexual self. So she strongly comes from the emotional self. The problem is the emotional self sometimes get conflicted, or it is in tension or in self opposition inside itself with the sexual self. And so that can, even though they desire high touch, that's a love style, right? That's a love style of theirs. And then also another love style of there is emotional love style. So there's a lot has to be feeling and then touch, but if it's not um making sense with her number two, um, there's a problem. So in a nutshell, touch for her has to be meditative. It can't feel as primal instinct. That's where I'm going to get at. Thank you. It can't be as primal instinct. When inside a relationship, because she is so magnetic. Oh, I hope she's on here listening. Because she is so magnetic, she's easy to draw and easy to hold. So here's the thing. Now you're going to talk about attraction and resonance. She can quickly convert attraction into resonance. People just stay around. Of course, people, could falter, but the ones that falter in a relationship that she probably had connection to, and all of a sudden seem like, yo, what happened or whatever, there's like this mystery out there. It probably comes from when the energy from the physical interaction feels more primal and instinctual, when she wants it to feel more memorable and more sensual and um, and more heightening. So she doesn't want to feel totally localized to the sexual space. She wants the whole embodiment. So intimacy wise, she needs embodiment. She needs to feel fully present. She needs a lover to bring her to that whole essence, because that activates. Because for her, intimacy has to be meditative. And the more, if she probably looks at the lover or lovers that she classifies as just uh body soothing, she'll probably notice that there's a sense of meditative effect in the body is memorable of that. And so you know that's that's her thing. And so the thing is, drawing the primal instinct is because of the fire, right? um the fire is, ooh, it's electrifying, things like that. But keep in mind, I said the four with the ones, there's tension there between the sexual energy and the emotional energy. And so it gets in the way of the meditative experience in the intimacy space. And that's very important for her, because keep in mind, we say that she's very more emotional, right? So now we get into the nuances of this person's soul dichotomy. She comes from a sensual space under the emotion part. Okay. Um, last episode, the person came more from the wheelhouse space under the emotions. This individual comes from the sensory aspect. That's why I said she needs embodiment. But the problem is when things are too instinctual and stuff like that, it gets in the way of the meditative experience. So most of the time, unfortunately, and this is a complaint a lot of women have with a lot of times there's not enough patience. She needs a passionate, patient, mindful, body cultivating type of lover. And when she gets that, she'll quickly experience that meditative space because that really is what activates and enlivens her. And the number two in her soul code is a romantic love style. So, in romantic is the echoing effect, being able to, are you fully emotionally present, or you feel the exact same way I'm feeling with you? And can I feel that echoing? Because if I feel that echoing, I start to feel embodied. Or are you just so in the physical, in the body, you're locked on getting your release and not really creating this whole thing to be a memorable experience? Every time that she's intimate, she desires a memorable experience because that's what she desires and need. And so that's part of the language. And that's beyond words. You can't just tell someone that. You have to practice. You have to sync. But that's, remember, she comes from the feminine hierarchy. So she's really feeling, she's very big about emotional alignment and emotional just dipping in and seeping into that. And that's what she needs. But depending on who she takes interest in, so I'm not going to get into this, because someone asks, like, why they only attract primal instinct. Well, you have this person has a zero masculine score, right? And so in that can also represent an avoidance, right? Masculine energy under their ego space, under the masculine or men's ego space, comes from a space of gratification and desire. And think about it, ego is about self-identification, things like that. And so, and there's a lot of fire that falls up under that placement. So it's easy. So she has a lot of fire. So it automatically activates inside a man the gratification piece. And women have to understand this. Men under the ego, when we talk about the astro sun, that's the ego part. The ego, for men under the men's algorithm is gratification. Okay. And so men can overcome that by tapping into we call the core value of neutrality, knowing how to balance that and stuff like that. So that way their sense of gratification doesn't lead them more into vices, but it also can build up virtue for them. Okay. Now for women, it's a little different. Women ego space is dominated by a relationship. I gotta feel connected. I gotta have a relationship. I gotta da da da. That's why you see more women talk about relationships all the time, right? They talk about it more often. And so the ego space from the woman is connection. Let me feel this. But the man from the ego space is, oh man, it's gratifying. So that can bring some internal tension in her because she is so strongly in the feminine algorithm of her being, and she is a woman. So she's she's a physical woman, and she has strong feminine energy, and so that's just so this is whole thing that has to be fed. So she needs um, a lover, and she will attract that if she doesn't have these. Um, if her emotions are not getting too much in the way where they're pushing people away, because the emotion aspect falls in line with what we call the universal principle of vibration. And vibration is, we gave it a spectrum. We got one side of attraction, the other side is repulsion. So if her emotion does more attracting, okay, she get that. But in that attraction, the person needs to understand it. But her emotions are to the point where they're not regulated, and she's so overly invested into her emotions, it now can be the repulsive aspect. And so now you start repulsing, and then all of a sudden you start having experiences that don't realign, she doesn't realign with her. So there's a lot that can go on, in that. And so all this is captured. When you look at this, I went a little more advanced, but still the basis, you can get this inside the book. Elements of attraction. Okay, so we hit that, right? Also the other thing with the low metal, it can cause her to be over giving. So she probably wrestled with some of that, just overly giving or over accommodating. And so I want to bring this out with the over accommodating and the low air. She Someone receiving that might can feel suffocated, but not realizing that's just a part of her sense of caring and nurturing. So sometimes she might not recognize if it's too overboard. It don't have to necessarily be a negative. Um, the negative of that, because some lovers love that, right? So it just depends on the combination, the chemistry, of what it generates together in terms of what that needs. So it doesn't have to be a negative. So the thing I'm saying, not really has to be a negative, because what's the negative here can be a positive and overly valued over here. So, but that's why I say it's very important when we talk about energy that we don't start talking role, because we fluctuate, we move in and out of different positions that can lead to certain roles that we're playing inside certain scenarios. That's just the true aspect of human nature. Somehow we just keep trying to relegate it to this, or this. And it's not so. And so we're causing conflict. Some of us are canceling relationships, or we're generating frustration that we don't need to do because we haven't tapped into the fluidity and the flow. Now, one thing about her is she's all about flow. That's feminine energy. The flow, that's keep the flow going. But the feminine energy wants to bond to a certain interest. So for her, she wants to bond to a embodied, memorable, anchoring, emotionally, and touch erotic oriented type of love style. Her love style is comprised of erotic, emotional, and romantic. But in all that together, there has to be, like I said, this elevating meditative experience that she definitely wants to pull out of that, right? And then that opens up her more and brings about also she really has to offer. Think about it. She has a strong fire, motivation, inspiration, constant, constant fuel to get things done. She's got that strong water, flexible resonance, highly intuitive, um, can refresh things, give life to things, and then she's got the earth to support, keep things sustained and stuff like that. So this is a soft, absorbent, consistent, dedicated, loyal type of woman. But you got to understand her language. You got to understand her language. Another thing that she can probably get wrestled with, get caught up inside relationships, is when I talk about the androgynous energy score. She has a 0, so androgyny is connected to adaptability, truth, balance, and so forth, integration. She, because emotional, under the emotional self of us, the thinking characteristic of emotional self is literal. They're actually, it seems kind of funny, but they're literal thinkers. So I got it. It's got to be literal. Now the good thing with her is because she has the 4 and the 2, it lets her be a little more well-rounded in her thinking and a little more abstract at times and have a convergence. So she's not solely just locked into one way. But remember, I said her battle is that she can get so overly invested in emotion and she can't see out of it. So if you know people with the ones inside, or has the ones inside their soul codes, you'll notice that with them. Okay. And so with that, when that kicks in, it's hard for her to adapt. She has 0 score in androgynous energy and a score of 1 in the neutral, but strong and supportive. So supportive, right? Submissive means she'll stay stuck there. She'll continue to try to nurture the very thing that doesn't need to be nurtured. Um, so um, this is Also, when you talk about the androgynous zero, out of four, she can get caught up between certainty versus ambiguity. Okay, she can get caught up between certainty. Her emotional self wants to highly favor certainty. Now, the um, the four in her favors what? Ambiguity. I understand there's gray area in life. I understand everything is not predictable. And that's where part of her inner conflict comes in inside her. That's a part of her inner war. So inside Living Soul Numerated System, we talk about the inner war or the inner peace. So part of her inner war is this battle between certainty and ambiguity. And she probably favors more certainty. How do I know? We look at her number two and her two ones. So more than likely, she can really try to have the certainty. So when things are not spelled out and not very, how she wants it ideally, emotionally first, um, she's, it starts to rattle her. It starts to shift her. She might not be aware of it until it starts fully manifesting. But that is almost like a trigger. Certainty versus ambiguity is probably a trigger point for her inside relationships. So things seem to remember, she's very could be very prone to assumption because she has low metal, low air, overdrive water. Okay. And so she has to cultivate and understand the reality, the ebbs and flows inside a relationship is that there's going to be periods or strong periods of uncertainty, aka ambiguity. So how do you deal with that? How do you manage ambiguities? Because that's a part of relationships. Or have you, because she also shows she can have avoidant tendencies. So the avoidance that would kick in for her is going to center around the certainty versus ambiguity. So when she starts to avoid, she'll cancel her feelings, her emotions, and stuff like that, and start trying to pull out because she might start following the path of assumption. I'm not saying it's not true or whatever, but she's assuming she's doing it. So she's going to this whole emotional spiraling. Her curiosity gets misplaced, and so she starts trying to become more investigative and all this other stuff, and then that becomes energy that becomes inside the relationship, and then that all of a sudden start driving wedges that might be warranted, or then a lot of cases might not be. But that's why she got to make sure she got that low metal. See, the metal will help you validate or to verify what you're feeling. So the problem is she might get overly invested in feeling and forget to verify. So she has to develop in a relationship space and just in regular social interaction how to verify what you're feeling and not going to people that's going to position themselves on how you feel. You've got to verify by the truth. Okay. So that's definitely, and that's probably a constant dance and tango, for her. So, so the things that she draws to, is a beautiful thing about her with the strong earth wood, the strong water, and the fire. Um, she definitely attracts to consistency, right? Um, she loves a sense of loyalty. She emotional depth. She loves good listeners. Okay, heart centered people is important for her. You're right, heart centered people, and also vulnerability. And I want to stop right there because that's probably the big strong thing, especially in relationships. Women a lot of times want men to become more what? Vulnerable. And so that vulnerability, um, when that's not there, that can give her an ambiguity signal. She might be like, well, this is mysterious now, or this is not clear because she's not getting the vulnerability. Not understanding we all express vulnerabilities a little bit differently. Emotionally centered, emotionally based people going to view vulnerability different than people that have a lot of air, right? Emotionally centered people and vulnerability is going to view it different than people that has um, a lot of fire. But there might be common streaks, so they have to Now she has a lot of earth wood, so she got other stuff to be understand to be mindful of that. She's empathic, so it's welcoming, but vulnerability is very big for her. So there might be a wrestling point, not with her, but with love interest. Is can they unwind to a vulnerable space? And that rolls into the intimacy. She definitely wants to feel the vulnerability in the intimacy. That's what's going to just skyrocket her. Okay. Um, so that's there. Um, Confidence, ambitious, charisma. She loves that. She attracts to that. Now, the thing that she's going to resist against, and is warranted, is people that show untrustworthiness. They're people that are scattered minded. She don't like that. First of all, she's got a strong literal thinker. She's a literal thinker and a convergent thinker. So all that scatterbrain indecisiveness is a turnoff. She's not rocking with that. Okay. And people that operate in lifeless routines that also just that kills the fire in her. Okay. Um, what people experience from her, we're looking at her numbers, and this is all coming from the book of Elements of Attraction. So I'm just basically using it as a tool to translate and do this reading that I'm doing right now. Okay. And so people experience a soothing for her. And this is important. So, ladies, I know you're probably listening. You got like, oh, what is someone experiencing? Because you might not really know, right? So, in the attraction, in the connection, what is it that there's a soothing. This person just naturally, they're not forcefully doing. They feel soothed around you. Um, you're very magnetic. So that can easily like I think someone asked questions on how that primal it can you with a magnetic soul, you can just oh my god, you just tap in, and a lot of times you quickly get vested into the instincts, just part of our nature, until we kind of cultivate that and go up, on the higher scale of things. So um but people feel safe. So men feel safe. And let me share some women that make men feel safe will always win, always be on top tier. I know social media, you hear all this other stuff, but grounded women that ground men, because men highly value confidence. And confidence, one main thing is women that don't bear and share secrets and make them feel safe will always have men that look after them. This woman right here, I'll be shocked if she doesn't at least have 3 men that's willing to look after her with no strings attached to it, just because of what she brings, just because of who she is. I know that sounds funny. Like, oh no, there's always something. No, there's a space, men will do that. If you move their soul to the point, and looking at her numbers, she probably moves the soul. And men might not have the emotional words to put on it, but they'll respond like, yo, man, you good. Even if we're not in a certain space with each other anymore, you still good. You know. So her numbers are 2114. So this individual, um, her superpower is in that soothing, and you get that type of response. So now the question is, how do you manage it? How do you sustain and cultivate that? And it's probably not hard for you, but you got to realize that's you have, like, there you go. You have a holding magnet effect, which means you have higher resonance. Most, if someone really becomes your lover, y'all probably hold high resonance. It's because you just hold it very well. Okay. And so that can turn to a great thing. Um, I didn't mention she's very growth minded. So I need to put that out there too. Very growth minded. And so she loves that. So with men, Um, some of y'all got my book talking about the what type of man shows up for you, and I'm talking about the different masculine personas, the four different personas, that comes up, and then men have the feminine personas. And this, when I look at hers, last episode I was talking about the builder persona, and she's definitely has that builder partner persona, but then she has uniqueness of bringing what we call princess um, uh, energy, and not in a bad way. I'm saying just there's this enlivenedness that like, oh my god, once she, like, if she just unfolds and just be fully in her full bloom flower, it is that personal space is like there's like a joy, there's just this enlivenedness that she kind of just brings. Well, that's a holding magnet for the masculine energy. They're gonna stay around for that, and they're gonna protect it. They don't want to see it dwindle away. Long as the masculine not in the shadow or in their dark psychology. Okay. You know. And so hold up. Somebody said more than three. Right. I mean, I'm just trying to be modest, but this woman, here's the thing, if she's listening or anyone that has similar numbers, don't let your emotions get you caught up in trying to worry about that. You're good. You would actually bring out the masculine to quote unquote oversee, to create provisions. Oh, someone put a question in. Is that why men always circle back? Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you get offended by that, don't get offended by that. That's a part of your energy superpower. That's what I ask is how do you imagine how you handle it? You know what I'm saying? It's see, folk don't want to talk about this stuff, but it's real. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay, right? It just comes down if you treat them right or whatever, But yeah, it's definitely circling back because it's magnetic. It's that pull, and then it's a level. See, men are going to respond to the inner refreshing, the inner activation. Ladies, hear me. That's what men are coming from. Men are not coming to you and tracking to your inner war. They're attracting to your inner peace. And the woman that has the inner peace and projects that more often than anything, the calm, the cool, the grounding, she might not seem getting the highlight, getting on the flare, but when it comes down to the real measurable, quiet time, space, having time, having some attention, she's got it. She's got it. Can't hate. She's got it. She's got it. You know what I'm saying? She's got it. You know, she'll be 7 years old and have a 50-year-old man like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Because she gonna make a man feel alive again. But then she wants that coming from the man. And that's where some of her challenging battles at. But the good thing with her, she understands once she's got it, she gonna keep it. And she's open wherever that arrangement will be, because she understands the importance of life exchanging and supporting flow and keeping the rhythm in the direction it needs to go. Picture the ocean water. Oh, yo, hey, the water's going this way. Let's keep it going that way. We ain't going to disturb it. She understands not to disturb the flow. Just don't cloud her with the clouds of ambiguity if you can help it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I don't know her personally, y'all. So this, I didn't make the disclaimer. I don't even know this person personally. So if whoever's on here, if this is matching, let people know in here. I don't even know this. I don't know this individual, but I'm just feeling the vibe. I'm like, hey, you know what I'm saying? It is where it is. You can't get mad because you got the magic. you got it. You know what I'm saying? It's what's up. You know, and I want to get back because women, understand. And so I always say after some of y'all might have got my book called the Phases of Femininity, and I talk about the different 9-year phase, different phases of femininity. And one of the part is a big transition that happens with women when they get over 36. They start shifting over into what we call the earthwood, getting more inner. A lot of women don't do it. A lot of women don't cultivate, but the women that do, they actually start seeing their feminine power go to another level because they now are not outwardly trying to attract things. They're attracting from the inward space. This woman right here probably already naturally had that knack of inner cultivation and just drawing. So basically what I'm getting at is the more she matures, the more her wine wants to be sipped. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, so she has that. The thing is, learn how to use that superpower to benefit you and others. And that'll always keep you high, top tier. See the good thing, sometimes what I see, well, especially nowadays, you see with a lot of women, men are, I said, they're attracted to the inner peace, the inner quality, the inner soothing that you bring. A lot of women have so much guard, and I get it. So we're not going to get into the touchy topic, atomic traumas and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to go there. I'm just saying overall, a lot of women bring in too much of the metal, too much overthinking, too much irrationality, too much emotional, irregular emotions, and that changes the signal, and it fragments, and it's like static. Remember the old school TVs, like the static. So when it translates into the man, it becomes static, and when it becomes staticky, then the masculine starts drawing back. But the more that is calm, the more that is directed, and more is soothing, things like that, it's going to come. Don't have to even force it. Okay. And so that's what it is. So before I close off here, so let me talk about some of the shadow possible attractions that, again, that might come at her. Okay. And it don't necessarily, it's not an indictment against her. It's where her energy, because her energy can kind of provide. I talk about the 4 domains of attraction. I have actually an audio on that. And some of you can, like, I didn't mention it. Some of you that really likes this, they really want to get more information, get more practical information on this stuff, just you can join my Soul House. We have a group that we launched long ago. We got people that's members in it. Right now, there's actually a special, so you can get in, and it's $6 a month. But there's so much in the vault. There's so much insights, that's in there. You get books, videos, and audios. The audios, you can download them and yours. You know what I'm saying? And so it's all about elevating the soul of you. And I hit wide range dealing with money, relationships, psychology, and all from a metaphysical, practical space. So there's a lot in there. There's a lot of, some of you know been rocking with me, y'all know. But just letting you know to get in there. So a lot of this stuff, you're getting access to certain stuff that I do this continually. And then also we're going to have this more as a show. If y'all really like this, I'm gonna do more of these shows, and some of it will be exclusively in the Patreon I have or inside my Soul House. Okay. But any day, so let me get back to her shadow attraction. So she might attract judgmental people. She might attract controlling people. She might attract people that seem like they always difficult, it's hard to please them. Not talking about her, I'm talking about the people that come into her space. It's like they always got to complain about something. It's like, matter of fact, she probably got that a lot going on. You probably got people's like, always, it's like, it doesn't have to be romantic interest, just people she's always attracting. She attracts these shadows, what I'm getting at. You probably attract these shadows. People that just, are you satisfied? And it's like they never satisfied. She probably attracts a lot of those people. She probably attracts people that I call them novelty chasers. They always got to chase something new. If it's new, they gotta chase it. They gotta chase it. Can't chase it. They have no contentment. The thing about her is with the strong fire that she has, and the strong earth and the strong water, she's a very I think so. Ladies, understand this too. One of the things that men look for is a woman that understands contentment. That is also high magnet. Men are going to be repulsed by discontented women. They're highly attractive and resonate with content women. It don't mean being stagnant. It don't mean compromising. So don't add in all the extra stuff with it. We're talking about just the virtue of contentment. That's what I'm talking about. And this is what, honey, look, what was the song by the boys to the yard and they like it got to charge. She got some of that going on. She got some of that Khalees going on. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. So she also can attract. So I want to mention this real fast so that way she's listening or should refer to this. She probably attracts a lot of manipulators. So I need you, and because she's very emotionally centered, I need you to be aware and need you to understand, because you have low air score and a low metal score, but a high water score, it will invite a lot of manipulators. So you need to get screwed up in on manipulative intent and knowing how to recognize that. You need to, if you don't have, you need to kind of get some, encouraging your spiritual journey to get some spiritual psychology understanding of stuff. So that way it can help your intuition. I need you, again, I don't know her, but I'm talking now, I'm in coach mode. I need you to graduate from empathy into your intuition. That's not a hard thing, but the intuitive piece requires getting versed in environmental impacts from social dialogues, right? Or social connections. I need you to get adept into understanding the laws and forces of life and how it plays into the psychology of us. It's basically what I'm doing right now. And I need you to understand how to interpret intuition in environments in reference to the force and stuff being at play. So there's a little, so there's a little, you're being called to graduate a little bit. If you, it's, I know, if you got a lot of manipulators coming in, that's your signal. What I'm telling you right now, that's add this piece into your personal development, so that way, and the more you do that, the more you'll see the manipulators fade out, and that could come in men and women. Okay. Um, Someone said very. Okay. So, look, we talk. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this. And so, but really, you probably, again, not an issue with you, right? It's because what your energy naturally exudes. Someone said, been grabbing to that space. Okay. So you definitely, you just kind of want to, get there. And if somebody, you can email or inbox me if you follow me on Facebook or IG with some of that stuff. This is like, I just released the book, and our group is actually going into a little bit talking about the shadow psychology, tapping into that stuff, and also the invisible rules behind life. I have that book. I got several stuff inside the vault. You just want to, that's what we do. We have a lot of stuff in there, and I also have audio talking about manipulative intent and things like that. So, but it's important. It'll benefit you because you care. And unfortunately, a lot of us that have a lot of water, a lot of earth, um, in our profiles, we just care. And inversely speaking, it invites manipulators and people that are willing to betray you. So your nemesis is probably circling around manipulators and betrayers. So again, it's still pointing to, we got to get you from graduating, not being primary empathy. We're not leaving empathy. We just want to add another layer of discernment and intuitive insight, so that way you can spot these things before it comes into your space. Okay. Oh wow, I appreciate it. Let me read this. Yes, you can carry it to a fault. So someone said the books are not just books. The elements of attraction and the shadows and the dark psychology book have amazing assessments. Helps you get clear with yourself, where you are and what you attract. Ashak. So I really want to say this right now because I want to looking at your numbers and I'm just I'm kind of tapping in and this you also will attract commitment avoidant people. But I want to get back to the manipulators and the betrayers. You got to really get yourself spiritually attuned and aware to get to space because this is going to be your this if it hasn't been, it'll become your Achilles heel. You're too good of heart of a person, too well-intentioned person to keep flirting around and having people that's outside the fence trying to get in that are manipulators. You've got to get your eyesight a little more sharpened so that way you can keep them more at bay. Because what happens is they'll disguise themselves as chameleons. Another thing too, I see people that are becoming like chameleons, you know, and then you start nurturing the chameleons. The thing is though, you have the ability and the gift to see it. So, but you got if you stay in empathy piece, you keep trying, oh, they don't feel right, or they do feel right. Honey, that can get manipulated. You need to discern. Discernment doesn't come from feeling, even though feeling can come from it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So they're two different things. So I gotta help you out here. Is that you can't? Oh, they feel right. Nah, you can't just go by that alone. You got to verify it against the truth. Once you get more truth and understanding the dynamics and the forces of laws and stuff, then you can discern. Then you recognize if it feels right or not. But if you're lacking in these other areas, you're not that competent in these other areas right here, your empathy will lead you into traps. Relationships are designed to be refreshing for you. That's what you command, that's what you invite, that's what you draw, that's what you want. But we got to put we got to put the discernment glasses on so you can start. We got to put X-ray. We got to give you some X-ray vision to see because you're too good a heart of a person. You really care about people. You're there to support. You're valuable. You need to be protected. So, but for your self-protection, we got to graduate you from empathy into the eyes of discernment. And we need to be razor sharp so that way you all good. But okay, I'm off my soapbox on that. Someone put words versus action. I'm gonna say this again. See, that's contemporary knowledge. I can act in kind gestures and still be deceiving you. That happens all the time. You need discernment. Now, you can discern words, not the slick surface words, but the energy behind it. So again, someone put that there. You got to graduate. There's other levels. You got to graduate. You got to graduate. I mean, yes, you can pay attention to actions, but people can act one some kind of way. Okay. I'm about the truth here. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to make sure that you good. That I want to make sure that you see. Because here's the thing: you got to be confident in when you see certain things, because you might start making different decisions, might be responding, and it doesn't make sense to everybody else. But you see it, you trust it. Now you're empty. Yo, I got no, I can't fool with that. But the beautiful thing about it is when you develop this, hindsight will kiss you on the cheek because it's going to be like, oh, I avoided that. Oh, and it becomes funny, like, oh shit, I saw that. No one else saw it, but I saw it. And that's where your empathy and your intuitive nature becomes top tier. And let me tell you something, when that even becomes more top tier, you think you got the men in the yard now. Now you're going to start attracting certain high caliber, what I'm talking about. Everybody talks about toxic masculinity. I want to talk about conscious masculinity, sacred, intentional, socially refined type of men energy. You are going to start attracting more of that when you raise up there. Now, uh, like I said, so, anyways, um, I know I said a lot, but I love imparting to everyone, and the replay will be available Okay. Oh, let me say before I pop off of here, because why we're still talking about that, because here's another thing too with your discernment. I have to say this, I have to be complete. With the metal being low and the air being low, you got to wrestle with trust issues too. Okay. So because if you, for example, become self-aware inside yourself, if I have distrust, it's hard for you to discern correctly. It's also hard for you to feel correctly because you're shifting yourself. So you've got to, so we got to be able to develop these other capabilities so that way it doesn't work against you. Okay. So, and I know another thing you probably wrestle with is feeling unheard, but that's not really you. That's just probably what, just when you're not understood, when people misinterpret your giving nature, your caring nature, and you wanting clarity, or because you're trying to support and keep things growing. That's another thing too. Like I said, this individual, things grow around you, and of course, so men, I talk about men want to win at life, and they're like, oh my God, things grow with her. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely, honey. They're gonna circle back. They not, hey, you know what I'm saying? No, no, that is men understand that language. They understand the value of that. When they say what you bring to the table, all the shit I just did is just give them this video I brought right here. This is what I bring to the table, and watch it work. You know what I'm saying? So as I conclude, if you got any feedback on here or whatever, it's cool. Like this will be up once it all uploads and stuff like that. But if you want me to do your reading anonymously, just email wisdomtherapeutics1 or probably while you're on Facebook, you can DM me, Satori Seal, excuse me, and just drop your date of birth, but also include your year, that you're born. And just I'll do a breakdown, the elements of attraction, showing what you attract and stuff like that, and tap into that. And then, like I said, going to the fall, look forward to making this more into a show, but there will be some shows that will be strictly exclusive inside the Soul House and on Patreon. But I appreciate y'all on chiming in. Share this. Let's give the algorithms permission, an indicator like, hey, people appreciate some of this, so it's helping people out. So I got some more coming. I got several people been emailing and DMing me with different stuff. This individual actually, she actually shared other date of births. It's gonna be interesting because I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna pull some stuff out. So with this as well too, and then I got some other ones, coming along. So just stay tuned. So plug in and we'll chime in. And I highly encourage y'all. Thank you in advance I saw that someone actually joined into the Soul House. So, like I said, we got a special going at $6 a month. And I'm telling you, if anyone's on here that's in, $6 for your personal growth, high awareness, and all this other stuff. And then, I mean, it's normally $11.99 a month, but you can choose, with that. Right now, we got a special going. We just, we're in a time right now, we need to be inspired. We need some clarity. And that's one of my strong suits of what I do. Okay. So I appreciate everybody entrusting that will join, that's in. Grab the book, Elements of Attraction, drop a review so other people can, really in turn, I'm just trying to bring something real. So that's what's up. But again, we'll touch back down. We'll dig more into this. And again, if you're interested, like I said, just DM me. I'm on IG too. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. I'm on IG under Satori Seals. You can just inbox me or whatever, and I'll do your reading anonymously. No strings attached to it. All right. So that's what's up. Hey, everybody, one love. Okay. You definitely before you hop on Patreon, but definitely join the Soul House because I got you. Inbox me. Got you. What's up?